Welcome to my corner of the garage. If you're like me, you just got on YouTube to figure out if this is worth 45 bucks from Harbor Freight. It's the Bauer 24 3/4 inch fence and miter gauge. Have used a crosscut sled for most of my 90-degree angles, and then have used the Incra 5000 for more of my compound miters and things. But I really just need a simple miter gauge for throwing it up on the table saw and making some simple cuts. So I've kind of held out. I'm basically going to find out, did I waste 45 bucks and then going to turn around and buy something more substantial, or what's the build quality like? So I'm going to shut up and I'm going to unbox this. All right, well, right off the bat, this actually is better than I thought it would be as far as construction and just materials. I don't love this plastic handle. It seems a little cheaper, but the rest of this aluminum actually feels really high quality. The knobs are a little bit cheaper on the plasticky side. But for normal use, I think they're going to hold up just fine. Oh, it's got this spring-loaded positive stop. That's handy. Okay. Well, that's really nice design. Well, we'll find out here in a moment just how dead on the zero is, but then that wheel will lock it in place, loosen it, and then that pulls out. So let's take it over to the table saw. So there's definitely some play there, which is pretty typical. Again, on the nicer ones, you can adjust for that. I'll have to look at the instructions to see if there's, there we go, there's some set screws on the side here. So again, would have found that out if I looked at the instructions. It looks like they only protrude from one side, but these are threaded all the way through. So let me grab the little Allen wrench that came with it. Okay, got rid of the play. It's still a little bit snug in there, but I'll play around with that a little bit. So this is on the 90-degree position. What I want to do is I'm going to slide this over, bring my blade up, and I have made sure that my blade is parallel with my miter tracks already when I set the table saw up. So what I want to see is right out of the gate if this is squared up. So let me get a machinist square. I know you can't really see this from that camera angle, but you just have to take my word for it. That is pretty stinking square. So I'm very impressed that right out of the gate, and there's no real play in the miter gauge or the T-track at all. It's pretty much snug, and that is dead on. One of the things I did notice that I like is there are these little plastic end caps that go on the sides here. Now, because I've got a saw stop, obviously I want to make sure that this metal fence is always well clear of the blade. But what's nice is having this little plastic piece. It gives it a little bit more support closer up to the blade without having to make me scared about this blade getting too close to the metal. So let's try this out. I don't know if you can tell, but that is dead on. So I'm very pleased with that first cut. Let's try 45 degree. Wow. Okay. Very pleased with that, obviously. All right, a couple of final thoughts. I've made 2 cuts with it, and I've had it for a total of 15 minutes, so take this with a grain of salt. But in working with it, I will say these aluminum edges are sharp. So it's not really nice to the touch in some ways, and yet this thing's pretty beefy and feels pretty high quality as far as, I mean, I think I could drop it on the ground and it wouldn't do a whole lot to it. So, a budget option for a miter gauge? Yes. Obviously, this is not going to compare to Incra, Jessam, Harvey, or probably even like a Craig or a Rockler. I'll link a review in the description to the Wood Whisperer who goes over each of these miter gauges. As far as feeling better getting my hands on this versus some of the Amazon specials that you can get, from China, I actually feel pretty confident in this, and I think this is going to serve me really well. So, end of the day, I mean, it's really probably not a wasted $45 unless you could spend $150 on a really quality one. But man, I'd be hard pressed to think there would be another one in its price range that would perform as well as this one. So again, it's kind of sharp on the edges. I don't love the set screw design for my table saw. It's an aluminum top. It's not an actual cast top. So it does kind of scrape with these set screws. Other than that, that's my 2 cents. Hopefully I didn't waste your time. Thanks for joining me today.